There is a teaching that the Torah is black fire on white fire. The black fire is the words we see on the page, the letters in black ink. The white fire is the space in between the words, what is not explicitly said. There is a whole world of meaning we might miss if we don't gaze into that white fire. This week's Parashat Emor is overflowing with white fire. If we were to look just at the text, the words written on the page, they might strike us as highly inconsistent with the general teachings of our tradition. The same Torah that taught us last week in Parashat Kedoshim that Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. That same Torah that demands kindness and compassion and the pursuit of justice from us. That same Torah tells us this week in Parashat Emor that the only people permitted to present an offering to God must essentially be perfect. They must be priests without a single blemish or defect, called mum in Hebrew. I want to ask you a question. Who among us is free of blemishes? Who among us does not have a defect of some kind? We know that we are far from perfect, that no human being even approaches perfection. So how could our Torah possibly demand perfection for a task as holy as approaching God? And here is where I see that white fire glowing. God knows it is impossible for us to be perfect. But do we? How many of us seek perfection in our lives? Do we try to present a picture-perfect version of ourselves to the outside world? Do we criticize and blame ourselves for making mistakes? Do we postpone beginning a project or an assignment because we are so anxious that it won't be good enough? Do we compare ourselves to others and then feel shame when we think we fall short? In her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, author and researcher Brené Brown writes that being authentic with ourselves and with others about our imperfections leads to the gifts of courage, compassion, and connection. It takes courage to be vulnerable and embrace who we really are. We cultivate compassion and empathy toward others when we let go of that tough expectation of perfection in ourselves, when we recognize that we all have struggles. And finally, we build connection, and I think we build closer connection with God and with others, authentic connection. When we believe that we are enough, we are whole, no matter where we are in our life's journey. Leonard Cohen said it beautifully in his song Anthem, "There is a crack in everything. That is how the light gets in." Perhaps between the lines, within the cracks of Parashat Emor, is this message. Our attempts to achieve perfection are futile. Better that we spend our time and our energy on cultivating the courage to be our authentic selves. By doing so, we can inspire others to do the same. And this can lead to more compassion toward ourselves and toward others, especially at a time like this in our world where kindness and compassion are so vitally important. At the very least, by embracing and revealing who we really are, we can all feel more honestly and truly connected. This Shabbat, may we recognize that imperfection is not only the reality of who we are, it is also beautiful. Shabbat Shalom.